Hello, and welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy. This is the Ask Videomail for the week of April 13th, 2015. Welcome to the site to you new members, and welcome back to the old members. The Ask Videomail is your chance to get your question in character animation or performance answered in a video just like this one, but I need to get your question if I'm going to answer it, so please send it to webmaster@kennyroy.com. I go through all the questions and I answer the ones I think will help the most people. There's no such thing as a stupid question, not at all. And it is the best way to get the most out of the site. Here we are, halfway through April. Gosh, when I think that April is the fourth month of 2015, and we just celebrated the new year. God, time is going a little bit too fast for this guy. I've been super busy doing a lot of things and trying to get those deals going. Those deals. Wait until I can tell you about them. I'm very excited about that. But until that happens, we're just going to have to wait and see, cross fingers, do a little rain dance, whatever it is you do. Hopefully bring good luck my way. I'd love for these deals to go through. But at any rate, that's neither here nor there. This is a good question this week. Check it out. Well, there is a little known thing called reference. I'm going to tell you a little bit about today. All right, now that's a little snarky. This is what this is the serious answer, though. Every single animator, I guarantee you, every single animator that works on a creature show, no matter what the creature is, has, like, normally almost no experience working with creatures of that sort. How could you? How could you possibly? I mean, are you going to specifically learn all about snake movement, in your free time? No. Nor would it be possible to. Are you going to learn about bears and gorillas and cheetahs and dogs and cats and birds and the difference between like a vulture and an owl? Penguins, giraffes. I'm just saying my favorite animals now, but the point is, most professional animators, even creature animators, or maybe especially creature animators, but most professional animators, when they work on a creature, it's normally like the first time they've ever worked with that creature. Now, unless you have like a staff job at Tippett and you worked on all 4, I don't know how many, Twilight movies. Actually, where were the werewolves? I think only in number 2. Yeah, so there were 4 movies. It was only in 3. So I was right the first time. Take that, all you Twilight haters. Unless you're doing a lot of the same stuff, you're normally not encountering the same creatures. So you'll animate on, this thing where you're animating chipmunks, and then you'll move right on to chimpanzees. And you'll do some snakes, and then some insects, and then some whatever it is. And typically, it's the first time you've done it. And then you start to get a little bit of a repertoire for being a creature animator. I got most of my jobs in creature animation and not character animation. So, but that repertoire could be sort of simplified down to saying you get a little bit of a workflow, as it were. But the point I'm making is, when you are approaching a creature shot, your workflow should be tight, and then you need to just look at reference. And now you don't copy reference. Remember, reference is supposed to give you a little bit of information, like, at a time. And you need to, with creature animation, what you're looking for in the reference is a little bit different than what you're looking for in character animation reference. In creature animation reference, what you're looking for is the specifics of the mechanics, and like one at a time. Like, so say for instance, the difference between when a hoof from a horse lifts off the ground in the back if it's running, or if it's galloping, or if it's trotting. Those kinds of things. And literally like counting frames and seeing like, okay, what is the actual difference here? And what are the other hooves doing? Hoofs. What are they doing? Okay? And getting very specific and very kind of technical about it. All right? It's not like as though you're looking for a performance, and you don't want to like rotomate the reference that you have. You're trying to get that information out of it, and then take that information only to where you need to take it in your work. Okay, to get it to be accurate. So say for instance, you're animating a cheetah run, and there's something not right looking about it. Maybe your cheetah's back legs are not crossing over the front legs on that compressed pose in air. Maybe that's your problem. And in order to make it so that it's actually correct, you need to see just how far forward those back legs go. Like this, how much they cross over, and then just go to that frame and see, okay, you know what? Wow, his foot is like all the way up. It's almost like past his nose. I mean, that foot's like all the way forward, or maybe it's not. I don't know, because I haven't looked at reference of a cheetah running that closely. When I was asked to be a mentor for the pilot semester of the Animation Mentor Animals and Creatures course, little did the animators, the students that were taking that course, know that I was having to heavily reference everything just as much as they were. In fact, I would have to basically become more of an expert on the reference than they were in the same amount of time. So when it was time to do like an ogre, and one person decided like, oh, I want it to be like a gorilla. Okay, well, let's see your reference footage, and it's like a gorilla like throwing like a gasoline can or something. Okay, great. And then I would have to spend like an hour just sitting with that reference, so that the next time I meet with that student, I'm more of an expert on what is in that reference than even they are, because that's the only way that I could offer valuable feedback, is to know more about what that motion is actually, what's actually going on within that piece of reference, than even the student knew. So it was a really tough course to mentor, because every shot is different, every creature is different, etc. I will say, though, this question didn't ask generally how do you make character or creatures look believable. It asked how you make flying creatures look believable. And so I did want to answer that specifically, just in case you are having trouble with flying creatures. The biggest thing that people don't understand is that it's forward motion that gives a flying creature the lift. Or more specifically, it's the air speed over the wings. So if the air is being blown at them at 30 miles an hour, and they're only going 20 miles an hour forward, they actually have 50 mile an hour winds going over their wings. And it's that generates the lift. Okay, so what most people do is when they have their birds flapping, they actually have them flapping backwards. And that's not what makes them go forward. In fact, a flap is actually slightly forward, even when they're traveling forward. Okay, because the very end of a flap, they have to have that little bit of a curl underneath to provide just that little bit extra bit of thrust upwards. Okay, so you just remember that, and you'll be in a much better shape than 90% of animators who've never worked with a flying creature before. I've got a Rhino House subscription, and as you can see here, here's just like one small example. You can clearly see the wings are flapping downwards and slightly forwards. They're going up and back and then down and forward. Even though this creature is it looks like a hawk, this hawk is flying forward. Okay, so that being like the number one thing that you want to pay attention to and make sure that it is working, is you also want to make sure that the weight of your flying creature is matched appropriately to the size and the movement of the wings. Okay, and remember what that entails is not necessarily how big the wings are, because gigantic wings on a small or a very, very lightweight creature will move differently. For instance, like a butterfly. A butterfly almost like flaps its wings, and like right in between my hands is where the body is. A butterfly almost like moves its body when it flaps its wings like this, because the wings are so big on a butterfly compared to the mass of that tiny little body that, you know, it almost like that's a fluttering action. Whereas like a big heavy bird will move its wings much less, but the body will have sort of a much more overlapped feeling to it. A big swoop of the wings, it will be only about halfway. When those wings are only about halfway down, will there be a little bit of extra upward thrust happening to it. And another thing, remember that a bird, if you are a bird, if I am a bird, if we're all birds, a bird doesn't flap like this. That would be shoulder muscles. Okay? Birds actually flap like this, right? Because they're leaned over and it's their pec muscles. It's like, you know, chicken breast. What muscle do we eat of the chicken? It's the breast muscle, right? Because birds have extremely strong and bulky chests. Okay, so don't think of it as a downward flap where the elbow is like leading the action. Think of it more of if you go to the gym and you've seen that chest press machine. Think of it more like this. Okay, and what is very apparent about this action that I'm doing? It's that this is one plane. Is that this is staying as one plane. So even if the arms are out and you're flapping, you're not leading it with the elbows like this. Okay? Even if they're out, okay, this is staying as, I'm going to bend my elbow, like this is staying as one plane. Very, very, the plane doesn't twist like this. All right, so practice doing that. Practice like standing and doing like a flap without leading with your elbows. Actually try to do a flap where you see, it's hard to not lead with your elbows. But while you're watching your animation, if your character is doing a lot of this, like with those elbows start coming out, get that plane to be a lot more parallel. There we go. All right, and a little bit forward. I'll lean over just a little bit more. See, now I'm not leading with my elbows. I'm keeping that plane parallel. Okay, I'm keeping one plane through this entire thing. Okay, not like that, not like that. Very, very, very forward. Okay, just remember this action. Why is this taking so long to work here? It's never taken this long for me for this thing to come up. Anyway, well, I don't want I don't want to waste any more of your time waiting for this. You kind of got the gist from. Oh, there we go. You kind of got the gist from watching this. But here we go again. Now we're behind him. Remember the elbow. Elbow is basically right there. The elbow is very close to the bird's body. It's very tucked in. All right, but let's watch this part from the beginning. You see that? The elbow is basically, here's the shoulder. The elbow is basically like right here, and then there's the hand. Right? The elbow is very close to the body, but watch as it comes down. It's back, and then it comes down forward. You see that? Now that's on a very big creature. I mean, this is a pretty big. That's a pretty big bird. That's a hawk. That's a bird of prey. The smaller it is, the more forward it comes. So a hummingbird actually does basically like this figure eight flap. Okay, it's this very figure eight flap. Okay, so does a fly, like a house fly. Take a look at those things. The smaller the creature is, the more forward that ends up happening, because the smaller they are, the more they are likely to hover. But again, like a sparrow will have a more forward flap than, say, a condor. Okay. So anyway, those are just a little bit of tidbits that you need. But in general, the answer to this question is the answer to how to make any creature, not just birds, more believable, is to follow reference. And that's what the pros do. Once we sit down at a brand new job, we learn what creature we're going to be animating, we're over on the internet. And we're looking, how the hell does this thing move? All right? Nobody knows how everything moves. Okay? So, cool. That's a great question. Please send more questions. I love getting them. You can even send me your Maya file. Let me know how things are working for you. We'll get you sorted. We'll get you all done. All right? I'm Kenny Roy. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks a lot. Good luck with your animation. As always, rock on.